Hey guys, thanks for stopping by to check out this episode of Bass Basics, where today we're going to be covering how to choose the right hook for your soft plastic bait. Obviously there's tons of different hooks out on the market, tons of different soft plastics out on the market, and the hook required for this bait is going to be a whole different hook than what's required for this one. It's not that hard to break it down though. I'm going to show you guys how to do it based on the bait itself and then by the situation that you're in. But it's not overly complicated. I'll show you how to do it. I'm going to bring you guys in here and show you up close. Alright, so taking a closer look here, the first and biggest mistake most people make when they go to pick a hook is they pick it based off the length of the bait they're using. So like this is a 10-inch rubber worm. That's a big worm, but they might go out and buy something like this. This is a big 7/0 swim bait hook. Now, it's not saying that you can't use this, but this is way overkill for this bait. I mean, you can see when you have it rigged in there, the screw lock's in, that hook point's sitting quite a ways back. It's probably not enough to actually affect the action, but like I said, that's just way too much hook for this. What you really need to think about when picking the right hook is the actual thickness of the plastic. Okay, so with an EWG style hook like this one here, this one's a 5/0. This is probably what I'd use for this worm. What you need to look at is when that hook is laid out, like it were actually rigged up Texas style, you need about twice the distance from the hook point all the way to the bottom shank of the hook. Because what happens is when that fish bites it, this middle part goes down and you need that bait to be able to get out of the way so you can get the hook point in the fish. If there's not enough distance for that bait to travel and it just goes down this far, that's going to have a hard time getting the hook into that fish. And you can see that if we switch hooks to a smaller one, something like this little 3/0 up here, there's just not enough room on there. It's not that you're not ever going to catch one, but it's going to be a whole lot tougher to hook them because there's not as much room for the bait to get out of the way. So remember when you're picking it out, thickness is key. You get some of these creature baits that are a little bit thicker, that's actually pretty comparable in thickness to this worm, so I would probably use that same style hook, that 5/0 that we looked at before. If I was going to use an EWG on this one, that's what I would probably go with, because when that's hooked that way, there's enough room to get out of the way and you get that good bite. The other thing to think about is, will that hook affect the action of the bait? You can use a longer hook on something that's small like this, but the problem is when you do rig that up, there's so much of that worm that stays rigid because there's a metal piece sticking through it. So it's something like a finesse worm, like this is, most of that tail is going to shimmy on the way down, but if you have a hook sticking all the way through there, you lose a lot of the natural action. So you always want to try to go with the smallest hook you can get away with. On something like this, for this instance, I'd probably stick with a 2/0. Okay, that still leaves plenty of worm left. When a big old bass comes and chomps that down, there's going to be no problem getting most of that worm in, and you're going to get a hook in them. So what I have laid out here too is a couple different style hooks. Now on this right side here, we just talked about the EWG. If you notice this one down here, this is still a 5/0, and this is a 5/0, but this one is a heavier wire. Okay, what that's going to do is give you more strength, so it's resistant to bend. So it's better for fishing around heavy cover, maybe on braided line where you're going to be setting the hook pretty hard, because braid doesn't really stretch. You don't want to end up bending your hook out. Another option would be the good old offset worm hook. A lot of people like this because it gives you a little bit more of a bite. If you rig this up in here, this is too big of a hook for it. But where that comes out that way, notice how the hook point is above the line tie. So when the line or the hook starts to pull out of the fish's mouth, it's going to try to hook some skin on the edge. Now, a lot of people like that. I don't really care for that as much. I have a great hookup ratio with the EWGs. But, I would say buy a pack of both and try it, because from my understanding, it seems like a lot of it depends on how you set the hook as to which hook is going to work a little bit better. Another hook I want to talk about is a straight shank flipping hook. Okay, this is a 3/0, a 4/0, and a 5/0. The advantage of these hooks is, again, there's a giant bite. You see the distance between the hook point or the line tie and where the hook point is. That gives a bigger bite in that fish's mouth. The other advantage of these too is for something like flipping or pitching, where you're definitely going to be using braid, and a lot of times you're setting a hook really hard to try to get the fish moving out of cover. There's no extra bends in it, so this hook really won't flex very much at all. It gives you a stronger hook, and these are always usually heavier wired just because they're built specifically for heavy cover fishing. You know, something like punching mats, where you're dragging a big fish up out a lot of heavy grass, you're pulling on it really hard, you're not going to bend that hook out nearly as easy as what you are with like an EWG. The third and final hook I want to talk about is the swim bait hook. Now a lot of people use these only for swim baits. They're great for that. You know, you got a little swim bait here, you can rig that up. You put the corkscrew in the front, twist it in, and then you rig this Texas rig. And that's a great little hook. Again, you got enough room from the bottom of the bait down to the weight where that can get out of the way. You can get a good solid hook up in it. The other thing these are good for is any type of presentation where you don't want it just falls straight down. Okay, because the weight's centered on the bait a little bit more, a lot of times it'll just kind of float or kind of slowly lean forward, and it'll have a tendency to kind of glide down. So if you're looking for a little bit different presentation, you might want to try a swim bait hook in a regular soft plastic bait. But like I said, the biggest thing to remember, it's not always the size of the bait, the length, it's the thickness that you have to worry about for what hook to choose. One other thing I'd like to throw out there real quick, guys, is when you're out there comparing hooks, from brand to brand, even though they use the same rating system and they're called the same, you're going to find that that's not standardized across the industry. So let's take this hook, it's a 2/0 EWG. For laser trocar, you're going to find that that might not be the exact same size as a 2/0 EWG from Gamakatsu. So what I like to do is I like to stick with one brand, try a couple different routes, whichever one seems to work the best for you that you like. I would just stick with that one brand, because then it allows you to kind of fill in the gaps, and you're not going to end up buying two different size hooks that in reality are the same exact size. Alright guys, there you go. Like I said, it doesn't have to be complicated to pick out the right hook. Hopefully this video helped you out and you feel a little bit more confident next time you're out on the water or going to the tackle store to try to pick out some hooks. Make sure that your first time stopping in, hit that subscribe button down below. If this video helped you out, make sure you hit the like button so I know, or you can leave a comment. If there's something you'd like to see, go ahead, leave it down below too, and I'll try to do a video on it for you. In the description of this video, I have links to my social media if you want to follow me on there. And until next time, guys, God bless and good luck on the water.